We're being ruled by Pharaoh's kings, or Sar, whose war against humanity is becoming very obvious now, as it should have already been obvious 2000 years ago, especially when you read in the Bible in Kings 3:1 how King Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh and even married the daughter of Pharaoh. And here it even says in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in 1 Kings 3. Yeah, I'll read it for you. Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and married his daughter. He brought her to the city of David, which is Jerusalem, etc. Yeah. Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and married his daughter. This is kind of weird and an entirely twisted story. If you think about it, that Moses and his jaywalkers first had to run away from Pharaoh, running for their lives in that famous Exodus. And sometime later, that popular King Solomon of the jaywalkers, all of a sudden making an alliance with that terrible enemy called Pharaoh, and even marrying Pharaoh's daughter, just as Pharaoh's nobility still does so in Europe. Therefore, finding the German nobility of Saxe-Gotha-Coburg on the throne of England and Belgium, and the German nobility of Pharaoh's house of zu Waldeck und Pyrmont and zur Lippe-Biesterfeld ruling over flat earth, the Netherlands, that is. It's all in the family of the Per A big house of Pharaoh. So King Solomon, through his marriage with Pharaoh's daughter, giving birth to a whole bloodline of little pharaohs ruling over the jaywalkers, and finally leading to the royal house of Baron de Rothschild, the new pharaoh ruling over the jaywalker slaves in Israel through an intricate setup of horizontal rule Freemasons. Therefore, they said in the Bible that Pharaoh and his army disappeared in the sea, which is a typical metaphor of that era, as in ancient writings, the sea stands for a mass of people, meaning that Pharaoh disappeared in the sea of peoples, thus becoming the worldwide nobility ruling over mankind through their new and quite perfect system of the horizontal republic. So here's a list of the jaywalker nobility in Europe. There's an extensive list here. There you go. So a lot of coat of arms here. It's real aristocracy. They even have the von here, like the German nobility von, and here von. But they are jaywalkers, probably directly from King Solomon. Czech, British, French, and this is one of Schei von Koromla, Hevesi von Bischitz, Italian. Oh, look, this one. This one here, Baron Lombroso, said to be from Egyptian jaywalker origin. Well, I mean, what do you know, right? Egyptian. That's what I've been telling you. And this is the reason why a lot of people said, because they didn't know very much further, that they saw, Europeans in the white race that were suffering, and they saw jaywalkers, maybe some of them with a lot of money, like the Rothschild. And they said, and then they generalize it, and they say, well, all the jaywalkers, they have all the money, and they're the bankers, which of course is not true. Of course it's not true. The jaywalkers also have nobility, like any other people, like the English, the Russians, the Germans, the French. All peoples have their nobility, including the jaywalkers. Only because the jaywalker slaves 2,000 years ago, they split and they went on a jaywalk, chased away by the Romans. So this nobility of the jaywalkers, they didn't have a country anymore. No more slaves, so they had to get them back. Don't you see it? Yeah, German. And if I go down here, where is he? Oh, here. Rothschild, and there's many, Look, a whole coat of arms and everything. You got the traditional story of them. I'm not going to show that all. So they have castles, they have titles. They didn't buy them. The rest of the aristocracy, they know that they're also from Egypt, from Pharaoh, from King Solomon, who married into Pharaoh, and King David. All of them, are masters. All peoples have this pharaonic nobility ruling over them, including the jaywalkers. There's no exception, people. So a few days ago, a jaywalker friend of mine from Israel wrote me this, because he's waking up through my videos. And here you can see that even the normal jaywalker people, they have no idea what's going on. So how can they be the masters of the world, So he's Ziv here. He's writing me this. He wrote me this. So I quote, "This week I was thinking to myself how stupid I and all the world was to believe that 20,000 skeletons with pocket knives that arrived from the Holocaust really win over 7 Arab armies," by Ziv. So I replied to him, "Well said, Ziv, good thinking. So who helped the jaywalkers to defeat 7 Arab armies? That must have been a solid organization who are bound by an oath of silence, because no intel has come out so far. The answer can be found through the Latin is fecit cui prodest and cui bono, and ask who is ruling Israel today. And the answer is Freemasons, nobility, Pharaoh. You're a good thinker, Ziv. Sean." So he's waking up through my videos, and which is a very good thing, so it's because all peoples, the Nubians, the jaywalkers, they all think, the white people did it, the white people, the white people. It's the same, for Muslims saying the jaywalkers did it, or the white, or for the Nubians, the white people, because it's so much easier like this, to have your scapegoat. But it's not that easy. It goes far, far more deeper. And I'm glad this guy, he woke up and he sees it now. Thank you, Ziv. Toda, which means thank you in Hebrew. So one doesn't have to search very long to find out that Pharaoh is also behind the wrapping up of the Paris Arc de Triomphe. like a pharaonic mummy being wrapped up with about 15 meters of linen, just as that Paris monument of, by, and for our masters got wrapped up with many kilometers of pharaonic mummy bandage in the very same color, namely white grayish. For the pharaoh mummy stands for the resurrection, just as for this dude here out of the royal house of Pharaoh, King David. And that's why the resurrected artist of this here calls himself this here, the double-headed Christo, and he's dead too. Christo or Christo, the double-headed Christo. This means that now this government building is dead and wrapped up as a mummy, as it has apparently disappeared from the eye. And it will resurrect like a wrapped up mummy in exactly 14 days. Just like this whole idea of all these resurrections of the Middle East comes, of course, out of ancient Egypt, together with all the biblical kings and the royal houses of Pharaoh. And I find the numbers 1 and 4 of those 14 days in between death and the resurrection of that Arc de Triomphe a lot in the secret symbology of company logos, like portraying 4 items of which 1 is being taken away, leaving 3 behind, thus saying the concept of 3 and 4 in another way, meaning square and compass. Yeah, like the 14 days between death and the resurrection. So here's the 4 of 14, and here's the 1 of 14, 1 being taken away from the 4, and thus leaving 3. So it says the concept of 3 for the compass, and here the concept of 4, the square. It is a square here, see? So the number 1 is here, and the number 4 is here, of the number altogether 14. And even here is the connection between the double-headed artist Christ O and its original. And I'll quote for you. 3 days. There may be a very practical reason for the resurrection to have happened in 3 days after Jesus' death, scholars say. First century tradition held that only after 3 days could you be sure someone was dead, and after 4 days the spirit was presumed to leave the body. So in 3 days the concept of 3 for our masters enables only Pharaoh's nobility, like this dude here, out of the house of King David, to resurrect. And in 4 days, for the concept of 4, meaning us, the slaves, there's no more hope for any resurrection, meaning life for our masters, concept of 3, and death to the slaves, concept of 4, which is happening today now with Pharaoh's bug war and Pharaoh's poison in our veins. It will make our spirits leave us. Just as it says here, after 4 days the spirit was presumed to leave the body. 4, no more spirit. 3, resurrection. Also is 14 2 times 7, or double 7. So 2 times the holy number of the pyramid, or twice saying square and compass, which again is related to twice the Christ, the genuine one and the false one, out of a royal house of Pharaoh, like the house of David, which I've explained to you in my last video. Christo in Paris, Christo in Paris, the name of the artist. And therefore, the name of the two artists called Christo, whose legacy made the Triumph Arch mummy, is Christo, like two persons, but one name, for two times Christ, one good and one bad, two persons personifying the artistic duo Christo, and as usual, the only ones entitled to leave a worldwide message to Pharaoh's global descendants and Freemasons are the elite bloodline offspring of Pharaoh themselves, to emit and send this 14 million euro message, as always, out of France, where it all started, both Old World Order and the New World Order. The double-headed Christo, two birds saying, "We are one." Christ O, the bloodline, we are one. Two birds, look at it, look at the image, two birds, it says the bloodline, we are one. Like Christo, the artist duo, being two persons. So, birdie birdie with the two heads can be found everywhere. The Freemasons have it with birdie birdie in an octagon. The Knights Templars have it, like here, the Order of the Knights of Jerusalem, with a Swiss cross, and watch that funny tail, which is the typical tail of a phoenix. And the phoenix also has that Oriental resurrection story of birdie birdie rising again out of the ashes. And here it says, right, the phoenix bird is reborn by rising from the ashes of its predecessor. And who's the predecessor? Well, Pharaoh, that's where they all come from. So this was written by a Freemason, eh? Yes, you understand? And here too, the Order of Malt, with Templar's cross in black and white for the Teutonic Knights. And watch out, Canadians. There it is again, your fleur de lis, maple leaf. Here it is in the middle of the Swiss cross. Well, maybe some Queen Maple was having that paradisal leaf on her genitals and shouted, "Leave me alone," as she had difficulties pronouncing the V in leave. Maple leaf. Thank God they didn't have any Adam and Steve yet in those good old days, shaking it in the sand between Pharaoh's pyramids. There's even a Victoria commandery beating up the Aussies in a police uniform, like here, where Australian children get shot at by Pharaoh's police, with our master's pyramid in the back. Here's the pyramid. So you can see it on this channel here, the Socialist Republic of Victoria. Go and support them. September 22nd. I'm gonna call them the double headers from now on, because after my video, The Nobility World Wars, soon it won't be allowed to say nobility or aristocracy anymore by the thought police. So, people, a new word on the list next to jaywalkers, the pink list killers, the Nubians and the bug wars, the double headers for Pharaoh's nobility ruling over us, as in Dubby, the double-headed eagle phoenix. Hey, Swissy. No, Swissy, we haven't forgotten you. And of course, there's also the coat of arms of Russia, called Dobinovsky. And Dobinovsky comes from the Tsars, or Pharaonic Tsar, meaning the king, Pharaoh, in Pharaonic Demotic. There you can see it. Dubby or Dobinovsky, double, the double-headed, the double-headers, also a Templar's cross, of course. This is Saint George killing the dragon. Templars rule the world. There you see, there's the world, here the Templars. And the aristocracy, well, you can fill that in yourself. Look at the tail. It's the tail of a phoenix. Yeah, let's scroll down a bit. Yeah, coat of arms of the Russian Empire. It's even the Hanshar, the Muslim sword, all included. It's all the same. A lot of crowns, the phoenix tail. Okay. Here you got, already in the 16th century, Ivan the Terrible, yeah, also a double header. Yeah, Ivan the Great in the 15th century, a double header, all double headers, you see. The Tsars, yeah, all double headers. Paul I, Templar's cross, of course, King, the Saint George. It's as I found on that Templar's chapel. There was, with the chairs turned around, there was a symbol of Saint George and the Templar's cross. So then who's the dragon? Well, they killed the original kings and also killed the people. Present day coat of arms of Russia, double headers. That's also our politicians, you know, they're double headers. One day it's this, the next day it's that, you know, double headers. Now, why the double-headed birdie? Because they're all heads from the same birdie, worldwide per a big royal house of Pharaoh, saying, two birds, we are one. The knives are forming a crown. Can you see that? The crown here, and underneath, hidden underneath, the teeth of this bloodthirsty double-header. Therefore, Christo, or Christo, the double-headed artist duo by the noble name of Vladimirov Yavachev, certainly is a descendant of Russian Tsars and maybe a lost survivor of the Romanovs, rebirthing out of the fire like a phoenix, with his mummy resurrection of government buildings of our pharaonic masters. So again, the number 14, as for the 14 days of the resurrection exercise, and for $14 million or 14 million euros, probably meaning that there are 14 million of them worldwide, because 14 million euros is a bit high for some plastic bags covering the monuments. So there must be some hidden meaning behind that number of 14 million, probably referring to 14 million pharaohs on all key positions, now simultaneously putting on police uniforms to beat the hell out of their slaves, just as the German nobility did, like Josias zu Waldeck und Piemont, massively joined the SS to murder the original German nationalists in 1934 and slaughter all the soft targets of all the Nazi massacres. Same thing, same double names of the double headers, nothing has changed. You can see his double name, Waldeck Piemont. They just change jackets all the time, which is part of their big lie, which is their primary weapon. In those days, they wore an SS uniform by Hugo Boss with double S, and now they wear a police uniform, but still the same contents inside, like the Polish police logo here, showing the octagon of the Nazi Templars, a square in the middle, and all around it the concept of three, saying square and compass all over the occult Polish police logo. So here you see the whole thing is an octagon. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners in it. In the middle is a square. It's in white and blue, blue for the war against humanity and white for the New World Order. And the New World Order is them. That's why there are 3 things here. Like a house. Every time I look, it's like a house. The White House of Pharaoh. This is the New World Order, and there's 3 for them, which is the side of a pyramid. And here there are little squares as well. So it's all there, you know, it's Freemasonry. Because the police are full of Freemasons, especially the higher ranks. Here you can see it. Illinois State Police, square and compass with a G in it. Everywhere square and compass, everywhere. Connecticut, Colorado. Here it has an octagon as well. Just as the Polish logo, which has a square in the middle for the square. And all these, you know, pyramids with 3 parts in it for the concept of 3, referring to the compass. And here it has another compass. The Worldwide Freemason Police Blue Army. So the Christo artist couple are of course full-blooded aristocrats. The double-headed Christo died in New York. He in 2020, 84 years old, and she died 74 years old. She lived in Bern, Switzerland, and he got transformed in the Kunstmuseum Basel in Switzerland, the base of Pharaoh. Her family name was Donna de Gibbon. So I immediately recognized the aristocratic de in between the double name. And also he had a double name, Vladimirov Yavachev. And of course, the nobility always marries the nobility. So this is the artist couple who wrapped in the Arc de Triomphe like a mummy. And for these two persons, they call themselves just Christo or Christo because they are double headers. And here, this is the guy, Christo Vladimir Yavachev, until 2020. So it's being wrapped in posthumously now, 1 year later. And she, Jean-Claude Denat de Guibon, a typical French aristocratic name. And she died in 2009 in New York. And here I show you. This is Wikipedia. You see, they're also wrapped in the Reichstag in Germany, another government building. You know, only these people themselves, you know, they get access to the government buildings. And, you know, if you would do it, put a plastic bag on it, you know, you go to prison for this, you know, for destroying state property or something, or whatever they lie together. So it says here, and he was transformed after visiting the Kunstmuseum Basel and the Kunsthaus in Zurich. It's always Switzerland in it, and that's very important, you know, because that's their base, you know. Yeah, the family lived in Bern of Jean-Claude Denat de Guibon. Always Switzerland, always. It's their base where they got all their money, where they get transformed. There's this dude here. So this is the double-headed Christo in Wikipedia. All double headers with double names and deep into resurrection stuff. You name it. She's out of the house of the French noble house of de Guibon. Here you can read it. Famille de Guibon. With a pharaonic sash in their coat of arms. Here's the sash. It's the coat of arms. The simple one. A crown, two pharaonic looking dogs, which you can see here in their more complete crest. Here with the pharaonic looking dogs here. Here it says Seigneur de Guibon. Here you can see the pharaonic hound. You know, looks like that, eh? And the concept of three circles in their coat of arms, which is them, are masters. And here, funny enough, squares on one side. I'll show that to you. Like down here. Like here. You know, here it's got squares on one side and triangles on the other. It's weird, huh? So, funny enough, square on one side and triangles on the other side for square and compass. And they have a comparatively high amount of generals running in the family. You know, look, Général de Brigade, Général de Brigade, General, General, military, General, de Guibon. Of course, the generals are all aristocrats. And therefore, they have a lot of blue for the war crown of Pharaoh in their coat of arms, like here. And in the crest, there is their nobility slogan saying J'attends, je prétends, et j'espère en tout temps, meaning I wait, I pretend, and I hope under all circumstances. Now, what is this aristocratic branch waiting, hoping, and pretending for? Like here, j'attends, je prétends, et j'espère en tout temps. In the nobility, there are only two main possibilities, or a combination of both. Either they are loyal to the king, against the king, or for the union of both. How to find that out? Well, quite easy. Just find out where the Gibbon noble house comes from, and if there are any Templar commanderies in that area related to the house of Gibbon. So I punched this here, the Gibbon Templier, Templar, in the search machine. And to my surprise, it's full of the Gibbon descendants in a town called Voulaines des Templiers, meaning Voulaines of the Knights Templars, even with an authentic Templar commandery called the Priory of Voulaines of the Templars. It says Prieuré de Voulaines-les-Templiers, the Priory of Voulaines of the Knights Templars. A priory like the notorious Priory of Sion of Swaziland, who set up that book called the Protocols of the Elders of Sion, with an S rather than a Z. Because in French, the original language of the Knights Templars and their nobility, Sion or Sion, is written the correct way and with an S. Le Protocole des Sages de Sion. Therefore, I've had it confirmed, what I already suspected, that the Gibbon nobility were hoping and waiting for the King of France to be replaced by the Templars Republic. Here's the town full of de Gibbon, Voulaines-les-Templiers. And here you can see the coat of arms of that town. What do I see? Two dudes on one horse, and here's their castle. And here it is in France, in Burgundy. Burgundy, Franche-Comté. I've been filming next to it. I'm not sure if I filmed it as well. I don't remember. The nobility house of de Gibbon, therefore pretending to the king to be his loyal servant, as saying to the king, "Yes, my lord, the people of France are happy, and they've got their bellies full," while in fact the French children were dying of hunger, with their food taken away by the Templars and their Swiss mercenaries, altogether leading to that so-called French Revolution, which was only a transition from the old world order to the new world order and to take the king away. And that's why another king who had a lot of problems with the Knights Templars, so King Philip the Fair, he said, the ones we love the most are the ones most likely to betray us. So why did the French king say this? Because all the problems he had with the Knights Templars, they were in fact his cousins and of the same family, because the Knights Templars are also from the nobility. Here you can see it, the Priory of Voulaines des Temples, or the Templiers. And so as the crest of this noble family of de Gibbon says, always pretending to the king, and hope and wait until the people will explode, topple the king, and chop his head off. So the slogan of the House of de Guibel portrays the Templars' strategy to get the Republic behind the powers behind the French Revolution. And here is an old drawing of that commandery of Voulen of the Knights Templars. It says a commandery. And it was made right after the French Revolution from 1797 1825, and the revolution was in 1789. A very big commandery related to the family of de Guibel. It is therefore no wonder that this very same family, by their descendant Jean-Claude Denat de Guibel, gives out this new message at the most important monument for the Republic, as the Arc of Triumph was made right after the French Revolution of 1789, installing the French horizontal Third New World Order Republic in the world. After Switzerland in 1291 and the American Revolution by Marquess de Lafayette and his men in 1776 in America, thus planting the French Statue of Liberty, Equality and Fraternity, Liberté, Égalité et Fraternité, by the French Freemason Bartholdi in New York. So only 17 years after the French Revolution of 1789 and its republic, in 1806 the construction of the Ark started on orders of Napoleon to honor the horizontal rule of the new republic, because Ark means to rule, from the old Greek Argos, the Ark of Triumph, or the triumph of the new rule, as in the name the Ark of the Covenant, meaning the ruling alliance, an alliance of the Jaywalker people with Pharaoh's rule, like the rule of Pharaoh King Solomon, about which the Jaywalkers, except a few Erev Rav, don't know anymore what it's all about exactly. So Ark, it means the rule, and Covenant, it means alliance. So the rule of the alliance, which is probably just a piece of paper which was in here. And they probably melted the gold to make something out of it, and the paper got burned and it's disappeared forever. Just as we, the white people, don't really know anymore through all the resets, like the 2 world wars, and equally administered unto all the peoples of this earth. We also have Joan of Arc, Jeanne d'Arc in France, meaning Joan of the power of rule, as she was empowered by the French king himself as a delegate of his rule, or arc, empowered to lead a huge army. Joan of the Rule, Joan of Arc, as the French nobility already knew back then that the French womanizers liked to follow the women into battle this time. Or Noah's Ark, related to the new covenant after the big reset, after the deluge, needing a new set of rules, also called Ark. Today We know exactly what this metaphor of the biblical deluge means. Just as today's bug war, where the ones who have Pharaoh's poison go left, and those who don't to the right, like standing in front of the angel of death in Auschwitz, the Swiss Dr. Mengele. Right, left, 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 right. You must stay for a little longer. Go left. You, we can't use you anymore. If you'd please be so kind to go to the right. Thank you very much. The double-headed Christo, symbolizing the two Christs, Jean-Claude Denat de Guibon and Christo Vladimirov Yavachev, also with a double name of the Bulgarian and even more likely Russian nobility, are in fact posthumously, like a mummy themselves, honoring the rule or ark of the Republic, making it disappear for its resurrection in 14 days. The Arc of Triumph was finished in 1836 and inaugurated by the French king Louis Philippe, a member of the Order of the Garter, who had lived 20 years in Swaziland, the mother of all horizontal republics. Here you see the king here. Yeah, King Louis Philippe. And here it says he fled to Switzerland in 1793 after being connected with a plot to restore France's monarchy. His father, Louis Philippe II, Duke of Orléans, Philippe Égalité, fell under suspicion and was executed, and Louis Philippe remained in exile in Switzerland for 21 years until the Bourbon restoration. So you can imagine they did a lot of talking there, eh, in Switzerland, eh? You get it, eh? It was the first New World Order in the world. So no wonder, you know, he created, or he had this, the Arc of the Triumph, which is really the monument for the Republic in France, #1 monument for the Republic. Of course, you know, after all the talks in Switzerland, you know, he made this because Switzerland is the first republic in the world. Here too, it's all about Switzerland here, you know, and yeah, he then left with his beautiful valet Baudouin. That's another guy, eh? It's Faithful, sorry. For the heights of the Alps, and then to Basel, where he sold all but one of his horses. Now moving from town to town throughout Switzerland. There's a lot of things here about Switzerland. And here's a picture. Early in his exile, Louis Philippe was a teacher of geography, history, mathematics, and modern languages at a boys' boarding school in Reichenau, Switzerland. He also went to. Okay, no. Right, you can find it up yourself. And here you can see in my latest film, the nobility world wars, that here Louis Philippe, the King of France, he was a member of the Order of the Garter. So he lived from 1773 until 1850, and in 1844 he became a member of the Order of the Garter. So that means he was not a real king, he was a constitutional monarch who made the alliance with the Knights Templars in this union. Not a real king, Louis Philippe of the French constitutional order of the Garter monarchy founded the French Foreign Legion in 1831, with its first commander, the Swiss Colonel von Stoffel, another aristocrat, of course. So I can't find any more. They took it out that the Swiss Colonel was the first commander. Maybe it's still in it, but I still have it in a video. I'll show it to you. So here it says, history. The French Foreign Legion was created by Louis Philippe, the King of France, on March 10, 1831, from the foreign regiments of the King of France. Recruits included soldiers from the recently disbanded Swiss and German foreign regiments of the Bourbon monarchy. Swiss mercenaries are always to be found all over Europe. And I'll show you their coat of arms, or their logo. I don't know where it is. No, it's up here. No, like here. This is the logo of the French Foreign Legion. So what do we see? It is a fleur-de-lis here, 1, 2, 3. So there's the concept of 3, because the fleur-de-lis is the symbol of the French monarchy. So there's definitely a fleur-de-lis in it, which is them, our masters, the concept of 3. And around it, there is 1, 2, 3 sort of flames or whatever it is for the concept of 4, which is us. So we are like defending, holding it all upright, you know, the people, the Europeans, holding it all upright and fighting for the concept of 3. So the concept of 4, us, are like fighting for them, you know, and they put their pockets full afterwards, right? While the people die, the slaves. You know, always been fighting for them. So you see it in all their symbols, people. It's all over. And it reminds me a bit of the Ankh symbol, but upside down in a way. And green and red. No, that's the same thing. I already told you. Green is down at the pyramid. You know, that's us. And red is the old world's order. The Red House of Pharaoh, the Père Tasser, which is them. So, you know, we, green, we are fighting for them. You know, it's everywhere. And they call it like they call it the French Foreign Legion, because legion, legio in Latin, it means many. So you know, they can lose a couple of us. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, like that. You see. And in this older video of mine, like 7 years ago, on my channel Gatsefrats, I show it where when it was still in Wikipedia, that the first colonel of the French Foreign Legion, that he was Swiss. And here it says the British Swiss Legion. The Swiss were everywhere in the world and in Europe. They were fighting for money. Now they let the others do the fighting, and they have their Swiss banks, and you know, they only use that. But Octagon, the death squads of Octagon, they still exist, and they operate all over the world. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of interesting here. The Swiss have 5th columns everywhere in the world. There's a lot of interesting links here. Oh, there's a lot actually. Oh dear, look at that. You have a whole week of work to go through this, eh? So it was on in 2014 on my channel Gatsefrats. So the French Foreign Legion, made in Swaziland, could march 5 years later through the Arc of Triumph in 1836, the year the inauguration took place. The whole mummy exercise of the Arc of Triumph is for honoring and almost worshipping the Fifth Republic of France and its symbolic resurrection, when the mummy wrap will be taken off on October the 3rd, because the next day will be October the 4th, which is exactly the date upon which the Fifth Republic of France came to life on October the 4th in 1958. What a bunch of sickos. There was nothing about this in the media, of course, because this intel is for the initiated ones only. The Freemasons being the masters of the Republic and ruling on all key positions. So here it says in Wikipedia, here it says La Cinquième République, the Fifth Republic, from October the 4th, 1958 onwards. So it happens to be exactly the same date when they take the wrapping of the mummy, the Arc of the Triomphe. So it's like a resurrection of the Fifth Republic, right? That's what it's all about. So this here is in Wikipedia. Here it says Wiki. And Régime républicain en France. This is the where it is in. For the slaves, it's just some exorbitantly expensive artwork and appearing innocent by its stupidity. So here you can read it. Here it says Christo, 14 million euros, Arc de Triomphe. Yeah, 14 million euros. Christo, 14 million euros. I'm sorry, people, I can't open it up for you and show it to you because I just don't want their cookies. I click nothing with cookies. So, as this again is a big event that gets into all the world's media, there's yet another global message delivered with it by these criminals. Just as the April 15th, 2019 arson of the Notre Dame Cathedral being the insider kickoff signal for the global bug wars, which started in December 2019 on a Friday the 13th, on which you have more information in this video here on the same channel. Here's the title: The nobility got their runaway slaves back whom the Republic had chased away. It's around at 16 minutes. The posthumous double-headed Christ art performers also similarly mummified another symbol for the Republic in yet another country on June 23rd, 1995, and also for 14 days between death and resurrection. Every time the same. Funny, huh? Same 14 days, the same symbol for the Republic, the building, same mummification, the same Christo artist, the same resurrection, and the death, in fact, relates to 1933, when Hitler had the Reichstag burned down. The same year, the Weimar Republic ended, and its resurrection in 1946 after the war. So here you see the German Reichstag. That's the symbol for the Republic in Germany. Just like Arc de Triomphe is the symbol for the Republic and the New World Order in France. There's no other building like this. Not in France and not in Germany. And they're doing this resurrection mummification ritual. Now, what is the next big event at the Arc of Triumph after the date of the beginning of the actual Fifth Republic on October the 4th in 14 days, which I already told you. So here it says it was the French Fifth Republic established on October the 4th, 1958. This is when the resurrection will take place of that mummification of the symbol for the Republic in France. This is not a coincidence. Here the logo, Liberty. Well, I explained that to you in my film, The Swiss Beast, Home of the Devil. And this, of course, is the Fasces. It's a bundle, you know, it's wrapped together with an X. And it means one of these you can break it, but all bundled together you cannot break it. So this means one for all and all for one. Or like Mr. Pharaoh Trump said, where we go one, we go all. It's exactly the same thing. And it has an X on it because it's a weapon against us. And it's all a chain around it. It means we are chained, you know. We are their slaves. There's no way out, you know. So I can scroll down a little bit. You can read it yourself. All of the presidents and the French president of the Fifth Republic will walk us through history from Pharaoh's vertical Old World Order reign until the actual New World Order horizontal republic, where Pharaoh Macron III will stand in an open car and symbolically moves through history and celebrating their rule over humanity, starting at that authentic Egyptian 22 meters high Luxor obelisk, internally referring to their origins and beginning of their conquest of the earth and over all peoples on it, until the end system of their New World Order Republic of today, of which the Arc of Triumph is their accumulation of power and 2000 years effort to dominate humanity. From their pharaonic obelisk, the symbol of the pharaonic domination, which they always planted first after having taken over the power over a tribe, nation, or region. And at the end, Pharaoh Macron III will arrive at the most perfect total control rule history has ever seen, symbolized by the Arc of Triumph, the day on which Pharaoh Macron III will travel through their history, showing their triumph of ruling over us, will be 11/11, the French Armistice Day and end of World War I. On November the 11th, the end of the German monarchy and the abdication of the German emperor. So you all better watch this date, because the mummification of their Arc de Triomphe triumph of ruling over us might very well be the worldwide message of another timeline towards another major crime attack on humanity by Pharaoh on November the 11th. It's exactly the same Arcos ruler layout in America, with on one side a huge obelisk, symbol of the pharaonic domination, out of which the conquest of Earth and humanity started, with on the other side the American symbol of the Republic, called the Bear-Hat White House, representing Pharaoh's incredibly efficient total control system over humanity through the parliamentary horizontal rule of the Republic. Same as in France. Same layout, same hidden meaning, same masters, same origins, and same end result, from Egypt till Republic. The mummification of their republican triumph of rulership is of course in white, for Pharaoh's White House Bear-Hat, standing for the New World Order Republic, and tied up with red cords referring to the Old World Order Red House Pertasser monarchy, holding it all together, because the origins and common element to all of them holds them all together. It is probably another message out of Per Isis, the house of Isis, also called Paris. And many towns in the Paris district are called Par Isis. Par Isis. It says Ville Par Isis, the town of the house of Isis. Or here, Val Par Isis, the valley of the house of Isis, also in the suburbs of Paris, like it says here. And here, Cormeilles en Parisis. Cormeilles en Parisis. It's also Ile-de-France. It's full of it, and they know it. The mummification of Pharaoh's triumph of rulership also means that they are hiding under the veil and then come back, just as the Knights Templars were hiding in Swaziland from the French king and came back to install their republic exactly on that October the 4th, the day of the Fifth Republic in France. Therefore, the Templars' colors, red and white, of the wrapping, colors originating out of ancient Egypt. That's it, folks. They hide and lie, hiding under the wrapping, and they don't tell us what it all means. They hide and they lie. They hide the lie. The most important monument of the Republic in France, hidden under a veil, meaning we, the people, don't know really by whom or what we're being ruled and where they actually come from. like deep state, shadow government of the hidden hand of Freemasonry. That's why they call it the Monument for the Unknown Soldier, with that hypocrite's eternal flame, because the expendable people were just helpful in toppling the king for their transition into their new republican rule. The dumb sleeple, not knowing what they were actually fighting for. Therefore, the unknown soldier, or the soldier who didn't know. The symbol of the new rule republic, officially dedicated to the armies of the revolution, because without the help of the ignorant slaves, the new masters could never have succeeded. We help them, fight for them, and die for them. In all those wars, we are being led in through media lies, false propaganda, and false promises, only to be betrayed and stabbed in the back by them in the end. Definitely getting stabbed by the Mummy Republic and the return of the mummy. Good night, y'all. Close your eyes. Don't think anymore. Go on your knees. Bury your head deep in between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye.